Every LEGO Castle army has a story, not just through banners and shields, but through a well-organized collection of minifigures, each with distinct and individual jobs and duties. With a fully functioning military force, from scouts mapping distant lands to archers watching from castle rooftops, from the infantry holding the line to the council advising the king. Each minifigure here has a role, a reason for what they carry, and a place within the kingdom. This is my take on the Black Falcon army. This character to me is the scout of the army. I've got him carrying a small map just to give the idea that he's jotting down notes from his travels, documenting terrain, borders, and maybe even rumors he hears along the way. In my head, he's moving between different kingdoms, exchanging information with other scouts he meets, and slowly helping expand the knowledge and influence of his own kingdom. I also gave him a different helmet than the rest of the Black Falcons. It feels more active to me, like it allows more airflow, which makes sense for someone constantly on the move. I believe this helmet design was first introduced in Knights Kingdom 2, and I really like how it looks in silver on the Black Falcons to change up the typical helmets you usually find. He's also carrying a satchel because, realistically, a scout would be loaded with his supplies ranging from food, tools, fire starters, and navigation. Everything needed for long-term travel. I gave him a sword as well, but instead of having it in his hand, I ran it through the back of the satchel so he doesn't have to carry it while walking. And yes, I know it's probably considered an illegal building technique, but I honestly don't care. I love the look of it, and for me, aesthetics always wins and comes first. I keep 2 scouts in each of my armies, one male and one female. For these, one carries the map while the other carries a shield, so if they run into trouble, they can at least defend themselves to a certain extent. These next 2 are just regular troops in the army, nothing fancy in terms of rank, but I really love the look I've captured with them. I gave them the new Viking shields because the blue and dark red works perfectly with the Black Falcon torsos. The darker reds match the belts on the waists of the minifigures quite well, and the blue ties right back into the uniforms. I think it looks very good visually without overdoing the matching of colors too much. They're also wearing one of my favorite helmets that most of my Falcons are wearing, and I gave them black swords to really set them apart from the rest of the army. They feel familiar but still unique in the army itself. Now these soldiers are meant to absorb the chaos in battle. They carry heavier armor, reinforced shields, and swords with designs that feel slightly foreign, almost Middle Eastern in inspiration, not because the Black Falcons copied them, but because the weapons have evolved through trade, conquest, and captured arms over time. I usually avoid armor like this since it hides the chest sigil, but here it makes sense. These soldiers aren't meant to display allegiance, they're meant to survive the first impact. When the army advances, these are the ones at the front. When the lines clash, they take the first blows, which is where their heavier armor comes in handy. Now, for the archers, all of them are usually women in my armies. Not for any deep reason aside from the fact archers wouldn't be wearing a lot of armor so far away from hand-to-hand combat. And especially when you have such a small army, everyone needs to participate in some way. So I thought the females of the kingdom have a perfect place in the archer regiment. I like the visual representation of female archers positioned at the tops of towers raining down arrows. They don't need heavy armor, and it gives me more freedom with their hairpieces. Each archer has a satchel and a quiver on their back. Now, finding hairpieces that work with quivers can be a bit tricky, but it pays off when you find them. Using the different hair colors is really effective at giving them variety aside from just mass amounts of hoods. The satchel over the quiver is probably another questionable building technique, but again, I love the look. I really enjoy the look of a loaded down minifigure that looks like they're actually carrying everything they need for their particular role. Now these are the core of the Black Falcon army. First is the lighter guard, no armor, just a sword and shield, likely town defenders or recently trained new soldiers. Next is a more protected soldier with shoulder armor. These are the troops that go out in battle with just enough armor for protection, but not too much to be weighed down. And finally, the captains. He carries his sword on his back, wears a dark blue Ninjago helmet with a gold visor, and has a noticeably more intimidating presence. He feels like the natural leader among the regular militia. The black sword was a tight fit in the sheath since it's meant for katanas, but I managed to make it work, and I think it looks very good. But not every figure in the kingdom fights. These two represent the inner circle of power, the voices behind the throne. The advisor carries a staff crowned with a jewel. Whether it's magical or purely symbolic is up to interpretation, but I just love the way it all comes together with the shoulder armor and bandana. He also carries a gold katana on his back, symbolizing himself as the commander of the army, second only to the king. Beside him stands a quieter figure, perhaps a princess or future queen. Now, of course, every army needs a flag bearer, and this one carries the Black Falcon colors proudly, helping soldiers identify their position on the battlefield. Next to him is the pack mule of the group. He's carrying buckets of water, supplies, medical, and even a rolled up blanket attached to the bottom of his pack. There's even a small flag added for some extra weight and detail. I gave him a walking stick as well because he definitely needs it. Which brings us to, of course, the cavalry. I added the Black Falcon horse barding on a tan horse, a black plume in his helmet, a black sword, and a classic Black Falcon shield. I also really love that these horses can be reared up and still stand while on display compared to the old models. I imagine the cavalry would be high-ranking officials somewhere between the heavy infantry and the standard soldiers relaying some of the orders on the battlefield. You've also got to have animals of the kingdom as well. Goats, livestock, and sheep are always needed because foods are essential when armies are traveling, which means you also have to have a farmer with a full wagon of hay to take care of them wherever the army ends up. And lastly, the king. He doesn't wear a traditional crown, instead he carries the kingdom's relic weapon, a gold trident-style dagger forged long ago. In my personal lore, every kingdom has one artifact like this, a symbol of authority that predates the current ruler. To make him feel older and wiser, I gave him a white beard and gray hair, but I also love this alternate look, which is a black wizard hat that surprisingly fits the Black Falcon color scheme very well. At first glance, this might just look like a small collection of minifigures, but every scout, every archer, every soldier, and supporter has a role that matters, not because they're heroic, but because they're necessary to a functioning army. This is an army that moves, adapts, and endures, one that understands wars and, most importantly, how to win them. And that's what I love the most about building armies like this. Not how many minifigures you have or the mass number of weapons, because when you give each figure a purpose, you're not just building an army, you're truly building the kingdom, whether it's 15 or 100. Well, that's my Black Falcon army. Let me know what yours is in the comments below. So I'll see you in the next video.